Hey everybody, welcome back to Midwest Marksman on my B channel. This right here is a Pinty optic 6-24 by 50 with MOA turrets and then what looks to be something like a milling scale reticle. Maybe it's an MOA reticle based features. Either way, this has lift to operate turrets on both sides, windage and elevation both. You have a slot on top so you can reset your zero. It does not have a zero stop, but you can reset the zero itself. You have side illumination and you have a side parallax. You have a fast focus eyepiece as well as flip up caps and a little bit of a cattail or magnification assist lever on top. It's a pretty cool concept for an optic. It is a little bit compact considering it's a 6-24 by 50. It's actually a somewhat compact size. And I thought this is a decent fit for this Pinty rifle. Now I've done quite a bit with these Pintys lately because Pinty is really the brand that got me into PCPs. I hadn't experienced PCPs prior. I didn't know that budget PCPs could shoot this dang good. It's one of the things that was just mind-boggling to me because I've had some really nice, like an HW97, I've shot some air guns that just shot incredibly tight, springers and that sort of thing. I stayed away from PCPs for a while, partially price, partially just not knowing. And that ignorance, man, I wish I would have maybe jumped in this a little sooner. But I'm glad that I did when I did. And now I've got this Pinty rifle chambered in .22 as well as this Pinty optic. Pinty did send it out. Thank you to Pinty for sending these things out to the channel so I can try them out and just get my hands on them and see what I think. Got a little bit of a cheek riser on the back here so that I can get a nice eye relief. Eye relief tends to be sufficient on this setup right here when I'm wearing a jacket. I'm in Minnesota. I have to go back and forth between hot and cold and wearing a jacket, and eye relief is something I'm always fighting because of extra layers. But let's go ahead and do a little bit of 50-yard shooting. It's about 7-mile-an-hour winds, and I want to give you my feedback on this. You know, it's an entry-level optic. It's extremely budget-friendly, but there's some things I really like about it. There's some things that could probably improve, but I want to tell you why I think this pairs up really nicely. Like I said, about 50 yards today. Definitely dealing with some wind. I'm going to be shooting some 18 grain pellets from H&N. They are not a bad quality pellet. They're a pretty decent quality pellet. And they should impact a touch low if I remember right. Got an internal trigger safety on this, so you just press your safety through on the trigger itself. A little bit interesting. Large size center dot, no Christmas tree in the reticle. Nice and clean. Ooh. All right. So I sent 3, I'm ready to make my adjustment. And so I'm gonna hold my reticle. Oops, let's move you over a little bit. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna move my reticle down to my point of impact. So I'm holding my reticle on the target to start with, and I'm moving it to where my misses were, which in this case means I need to dial up, unlock my windage, and move to the right. So I'm dialing that clockwise to get to the right. That should be right in the neighborhood. It looks like there's plenty of internal elevation to get me close. And send a couple more. Wow, that's pretty tight. Okay, not too bad. So, looks like my only correction left would be about right there. Now it is windy, and so I'm not going to put a lot of stock into variability left and right, but my group size is not bad at all. I can easily see it here at 50 yards. Not a lot of warpage in the center of the glass. The edges of the glass do have distortions. But one thing that made this really easy to shoot is the large size center dot. And I think what I need to do is actually show you that center dot if I can with my camera. All right, I'm just holding this with my hands, so I apologize if it's not perfect, but you can see with that center dot, it's a large size center dot. It's really easy to contrast that. I'm gonna keep it blurry in the background for a second, just so you can see that center dot. You can see how clean the reticle is, and it has something that's reminiscent of a mill style reticle, but I like the nice airy mill reticle, or dot style reticle rather. And when I need to contrast, let's go ahead and sharpen up the image for a second. When I need to contrast, it's absolutely there. It's easy for me to hold that against something else. And I'm gonna move this over and show you, there's my group at 50 yards. And I was just holding that dot right on the red. Not too bad at all in about 7 to 10 mile an hour winds at 50 yards. I'm really happy with that, especially considering we're talking about a budget optic. This is extremely affordable and price efficient. You can put this whole thing together even with the buck rail LDC device on the end there, which makes it very quiet. You can put all of this together for probably under, I want to say under 400 optic and everything, maybe not the bipod, but everything included. That leaves you a lot of money for high quality pellets. And if I can do that even in the wind, I'm really excited to see what this can do on a non-blustery day. So one more time, some of the things that I'm liking about the scope so far is form factor. It's not very big. It allows me, even though this has a shorter length of pull, it allows me to get comfortable behind it. I'm not fighting eye relief terribly. I think actually the eye box is relatively comfortable. 12 and 14 power, which is a very practical hunting and target shooting power because of the size of the center dot. I find that it's actually easy to get behind. It's gonna get touchier for sure on full power. And on full power, you're mostly just using that for spotting, whether it's this or some of the $2,000 and $3,000 optics that are of you. Usually full power is just for spotting or trying to see where your bullet impacts are, information collection, target identification, reading mirage. There's a variable of reasons you might use it, but not as often are you gonna shoot on full power because you're target shooting that way. Some people may go for it, and good for them. Typically, I want a little bit more field of view, especially if I'm trying to hunt. And I think this is a nice crossover entry-level optic for the application like we're looking at here. This isn't trying to compete with something in the $400 or $500 price point at all concerning optics. There are definitely other optics. In fact, I'm going to throw on some Gunner optics. They're sending out their 2 to 12, which is a next tier, probably in features and in glass quality. Overall design, it's more competent and a little bit more mature than what we're looking at here. But this, one of the benefits is it does have a functional reticle. You can hunt, you can target shoot, you can plank with this kind of thing pretty effectively. And if you're just doing, let's say, inside of 50 yards and you don't need top-notch glass quality, you're gonna shoot mostly during the day, then you have a 50 millimeter objective, you have the zoomies that you need, you have a first focal plane reticle, so the subtensions, whatever they end up being here, are technically true. So you can write that data down, record it if you need to, and you can make a map of your territory that you're hunting or shooting at, and you can know your holdovers. So instead of worrying about dialing and MOA and all that, because I'm a mill shooter, I don't have to worry about that. I can just hold over and remember what those subtensions are, or write it on a little piece of tape and put it in the flip-up cap here, which is very often what I end up doing, especially for hunting rifles. So I'll just put a little data card in my flip-up cap. So it has some of those features ready to go. Everything is smooth on it. Actually, it's really smooth. I'm not fighting anything here. It's lubricated well. Tolerances seem to be pretty good. Excuse me. And the features themselves are not extra. They work good. They work really nicely. The lift to operate turret cap here works really nicely. It's smooth. I actually think the turrets feel good. They're clicky, they're tactile. Will I be dialing on them? No, probably not. Again, I'm not gonna mess around with MOA conversion when I'm thinking in mils. It's just not something that's important to me. I'll just memorize holdovers for this particular application. The parallax does seem to work, although the numbers, probably not gonna be even close. Don't worry about that. That's not something you should really be putting too much effort into. I find that the low end power is a little distorted, it's a little weird, and then the high end power is a little distorted and a little weird. The edge of the glass, definitely there's something there that you're gonna notice. even if you're newer to optics. But what I'm focusing on is the center of the image, because most of the time for a scope like this, let's say between 8 power and 15, 16 power, that's where you're gonna live most of the time with a scope like this. And I actually think it does just fine in that range, especially for a PCP application. And one more time, especially considering the price, this is a really, really affordable optic that pairs well with an affordable PCP. This will get you out shooting, it's not gonna break the bank, and it's gonna allow you to spend more money on things like an aftermarket LDC device if you need a moderator of some sort. Maybe you need a cheek riser like I did, a rear support bag, whatever it is that you're trying to get at. For me, it's ammo typically. That's gonna allow you to spend more money on those things. So unless you're shooting pretty far, I think this will hold you over just fine, and even probably shoot some reasonably tight groups with it. So thank you to Pinty for sending this out. I think it's a great run for that entry-level market, people who are really looking for their first optic. This is something that's going to do just fine, and you're going to learn a lot about shooting. You're going to learn a lot about trigger control and image stabilization. You're going to learn so much with a 6-24. I don't recommend going much higher than this if you're just plinking and hunting. I think this crosses over really nicely, again, because of the reticle and the feature set. So this is probably something you want to start with before you spend a whole bunch of money on something else, until you know what you like and what it is you want to do. So one more time, thank you to Pinty for sending this out. If you want to see a review on this rifle, go ahead and watch this right here.